Good day, everyone. Thanks for stopping by Ferg TV. I'm Ray. Glad to see you stopped in. Today's little project is, well, I'm working on some cabinetry for a change. You got to make some money now and then. So what we're doing, I'll bring you up to speed here. Let's see if we can get you to take a look at the project. This is a door panel for a refrigerator, and it has a bottom freezer, so that's the panel for the bottom freezer, if you can see that, I hope. And it happens to be a Sub-Zero. The handle goes right here, but it's an L-shaped handle, and the customer has an existing refrigerator with a panel on it, but they don't have the correct handle, which would be taller and give you more clearance for your fingers. So what they did on the panel that's there now is they routed out an area 14 inches that by just about 2 inches, 1 7/8 inches, where you can get your hand in. So we're going to do that to this one. They couldn't find the correct handle. It's an older Sub-Zero. So we're just going to duplicate. Fieldstone, the company that I purchased my cabinets from, or I rep, they would not do the modification, which complicates it a little bit because now I have to do it after the fact. So have a plan. Always have a plan, A and B. So here's the plan. Let me bring you up here where you can see what's going on. Well, we're going to route with the router, and here's our coving bit that we're going to use. But I need to make a jig that will sit on the door. So we're going to put a stop on it. I got this all laid out because it took a few minutes to figure it out. Basically what's going to happen is you're going to put a stop down here that'll be equal to this line that's right there. That will be the edge of the door. So every time you go up, it'll be in the right place. There's only 2 times you'll go up. Once on the door, once on the drawer front. And then there'll be stops that I'll put up the top here. That'll be stops for my router to go to. So these will get trimmed and put on. I'll show you as we go. This will get cut out. This is where the router will go. It'll go in, and it'll route that 14 inches that I want by 1 7/8 inches. So that's the plan. The next step is to go over here to the, that turned kind of hard. We're going to go over to the table saw. We'll bring the blade up and cut here, cut here. Whoops, you can't do that on the sides. We'll take the jigsaw and cut them out. All this is a relief cut to get the router into. The stops on here are the critical points because the router will run up against that, and that will dictate what the size of the routed out area will be. So let's go over to the table saw, get that set up. I'll meet you over there. So we need 4 inches. So 4 inches should come up and hit this line right here. Let's try it. I need some safety glasses. Where? Oh, right in front of me. No wonder I couldn't see them. All right, dust collection. So you might be thinking, how does he know where he's coming up with the blade? If you can see this, you can see an outline of the blade on there where it's kind of touched from time to time. So I have an idea where it'll come up. And then we'll bring this back into it and then go that way. Okay, so again, we're just taking this out of the way. That's all we're doing. It means absolutely nothing except giving the router room. And the reason that we have made this in one big piece and cut the middle out, because we could have just cut this out, it wouldn't give my router any place to ride. Now I'll have some stability for that router while we're doing this, because if we make a mistake on that panel, I'm eating a new one. Okay, let's get our jigsaw and go to the next step. Okay, through the magic of video, we are ready to go. So what we're going to do is we're going to make a cut like this, and then we'll have to come back and straighten it out and do the same thing on the other side. Okay, so we'll duplicate the other side and I'll come back and get you, and then we'll put our stops on. Okay, and I just put a little oil in it, just a little dab. With all your air equipment, it's important to put oil in, and then of course you always get a little on your hands, so I went in and washed it, because in the wood shop, oil is not your friend. Unless it's olive oil. She's my oil. Ah, geez. Everybody's saying, what's he talking about? It's Popeye. Well, I know you don't know who Popeye is either. All right. So what I did was I drew a straight line across here, because I wanted to put this on in one piece and make sure it lined up. We'll staple it and then we'll just cut that off, because that's going to be in the way. And there, this is the piece that will go up against the door or the drawer front each time you move it, and it'll be in the same place. Okay. Okay. All right. Now I put the bottom one on first, because we'll hold that against the table when we put the others on. I'll cut that out of there. Let's do it right now. None of this stuff matters, so if it's not straight or anything, it doesn't matter. Okay. That now is our stop to go against the door like that. This is all going to start to make sense to you a little bit. So the next thing is, we'll take these pieces and put them from one side to the other. And I marked where the stop goes so I wouldn't get confused. It does happen. Okay, so that's exactly how it's going to go on to the door. Then the router, which is not plugged in, is going to go on here. And if that was the door, then this would be, if this was on the door, this would be the pot that we were going to route out. So what we're going to do to test this, we'll get a piece of wood. We'll make believe it's the style on the door. We'll clamp everything down right here, and we're going to do a test. This might be a good time for you to go give it the old up yours. Rounded up a piece of scrap wood. It's not the best candidate if you can see this thing. If I was building a rocking chair, it would be perfect. But for what we're going to do, I think it will be okay. We'll see. So what we're doing is we're pretending that this is the style of the door. Then we're putting this up. I don't even care about my center line. Doesn't matter. We're just going to route this. And then we'll take a measurement and see if we're around 14 inches. None of this is etched in stone. But it should be pretty close, I would say. So we're going to clamp this down, because that's what we're going to do. What we're doing is we're exactly duplicating what we will be doing. And so you can see how important the stops underneath are. They are critical, because you don't want to have to try to be lining things up. And I think that the bow in it is going to just come out for the most part here. Okay, we'll keep that in tight. Pull that down. Yeah, it's looking pretty good. It's laying good. All right, the important thing here is that we're up against the stops on the outside, which we are. Just make sure this is tight. Okay, the next thing we need to do is to adjust how far down we're going. I want to go down about 3/8 of an inch. So let's see where we're at. Again, the router is not plugged in. Not plugged in. And let's see. I'm going to tell you that we are close. I think we're close enough for a test. And then we might have to go down a little bit more. So the router is going to spin in this direction, which means I want to start over here and come this way. I don't want to go all the way in. I want to work my way in. So I want to just keep working my way in. And we're going to see what it's going to look like. Let me get some hearing protection here. I was going to use a piece of poplar as a test. That's maple over there, the door. So I grabbed a piece of maple and I want to see how it's going to route. The other thing that I might do is I might back the router in over here so we don't get a blowout at the side. And I think that's the first thing that we're going to do. So you can see that we have some room here, and that's exactly what this hole is. The stops are the only thing that's going to be used, just the stops. That dictates where the router goes. All right, we want to be back and clear of everything and start it up. So this is where we just backed in the router. And you can see that there's just a little fur, but no blowout. That's the important thing. So now what we'll do is we'll come here and we'll go this way. And just keep cleaning it all out and see what kind of a bottom we get. It's not a flat bottom bit, so I'm going to have to stay close to on each pass to get it cleaned up. Let's give it a whirl. So this is our test piece, and it's looking good. There's my inner cut. I just have to hog all of this out. And if you noticed, when the router was on here, the base was setting firmly on here, and when it was all the way in, it was still setting on here, which is support for the outside of it, so it doesn't get, tippy on you. I got to get this cleaned out, and I haven't figured out the best way to do that. It might be in and out, I'm not sure. But we'll get it figured out. It's going to work. That's the important thing. And once I do this, get it cleaned up, we'll take some measurements and see if we're where we need to be. Okay, this will absolutely work, with the exception of how we're going to get this taken care of. And I think I might have to put a flat bottom bit in here and then just go through and clean this up. So let me figure that out, and I'll come right back and grab you. That's why we're doing a test, right? So I believe that this bit right here will be the ticket. So what we'll do is we'll use our radius bit. We'll go in and right around. We'll back in over here first like we did, then come in, go right around, clean all of that out. Then you can go through and get a bunch of this out of here with that bit, that's fine. Then we'll set up, and as you can see, we'll get this to the point where it does not go into the radius part of it. So we'll have to set up a stop again, and just be putting a piece in so that it we'll get our measurements off of the base. And so this will just clean out that, and I won't have to worry about touching the radius, because if I get into that, then we're going to have a line in there, and that's going to be a problem. Even though it's painted, if I do make a mistake, I can put some filler in there, but I don't want to have to do that. Now, with this thing being already set up, I think the best way to attack this is to do this cut on both the door and the drawer front. Clean all of this out on both items, then get into this and do a setup over here, again on this test piece first. So let me get set up to do that. And before we leave, before I go to do that, let's take a measurement on this. Well, let's do this. Just so that I put this right back where it was when we do our next test. It'll go right back in the same spot. I put a center line on this door panel, which will be the left hand, that is the top. Not that it makes a difference, but that's the way I did orient it, and it's marked on the back. That is the left-hand style. This is the top of the freezer drawer. So it has a center line, and this has a center line. Now, because these are finished panels, they're not really finished on the back. They're kind of half finished. I'm putting them on some packing material here, a little foam. But because I'm doing that, I also wanted to put a piece of wood and wrapped it so that the finished edge is against that, and clamp that to this table so it won't move. Then I clamp this in place. We're good and sturdy. So now I don't have to worry about anything moving. Again, the plan is to go in, over, but first go in here, hit this, then go in and go over. And then probably take the bulk of this out, like I did on the other one. It's going to be rough. Then we'll reset, after we do that to both panels, we'll reset, and this flat bottom bit will clean up everything. And we're going to use this as our sample, as it is, to make sure that we don't go into the radius part of this, so we get a line. And this has just been sharpened, not just today, but recently, and it still had the plastic coat on it, so I took that off. But I want to do this while it's set up. I did determine that this is 3/8. It's really close. It's within like a 64th or something. It's close enough. So I don't want to reset that. I want to run it. Once I've run that, I don't have to worry about it. Then we'll reset one time for this, clean these up, a little hand sanding, and I think we'll be there. All right, we are ready to go. Keep your fingers crossed. That is very satisfactory. That's the best I was going to hope for right there. And that it's perfect. We'll get set up with the flat bottom and clean that out. But before we do that, we're going to now set up and do this. So I'll do that, and then I'll come back and get you, and we'll set up through the flat bottom. When you do the math on it, it says we need 11/16 here to move this bit out to the point where it won't get into the radius. It'll still be into the flat part of it. So I've made my pieces. I'm going to staple them in place, and we're going to give it a whirl. I've adjusted this to just a touch over 5/16, which is under 3/8. So I'm hoping that we hit this and it just leaves a tick, and then I'll just make an adjustment to it. Let's give it a try. We got to see if we get rid of that ridge. Oh yeah, that did it. That did it. I'm happy with that. That is all hand sandable. Yep. Good, good, and it's nice and flat. All right, I'm gonna run this right now, and I'll show it to you. So there is a little teeny tiny, well, there's next to nothing back there. This could be just a discrepancy in the height of the base or something. It's hand sandable. I'll bring that right in. Not a problem. And that might not even show up on the other side, on the door. So this one went away over here. I'm liking it. We're going to run that. Before I took this off of each one of these pieces, I put a center mark so that I could go back and line it up. We know that this is good in the front, so we should be good to go here. And we're plugged in. Let's go. Good. Just hand sanding. Get in there and we'll clean that up. Beautiful. Move this over to the other one, and life is going to be good. Good. Never got into the radius or anything like that. Just some hand sanding. Okay. Good. Well, I'll do some hand sanding, and then I'll come back and grab you when something interesting's going on. This might be a good time for you to go out there and just give it the old up yours if you got enough mustard in you. If you feel like you're getting any use out of this at all. I mean, maybe you learned how to make a jig or something, right? You know, who knows? Maybe you got a giggle out of it. That happens too from time to time, I hear. I don't know. But don't do it for me. Do it for the folks at YouTube. They love that sort of thing. All right, I'll come back and grab you when something earth-shattering's happening. There is a part 2 to these panels. This is our little shop drawing. We need to route this groove in it. So this is the face. That's where the handle is routed in. So what I've done is I've tipped the panels upside down. So that represents this being up. And we're going to route down about 3/16 of an inch, leaving that much material. And then we're going to do a 1/16 gap or route. And it's going to be about 1/4 of an inch deep. And that's where the framework on the refrigerator door will set in. Boom, it wraps around there and goes in, and that holds it all together. So let's route this up. What I did was I made a little jig, as always, a little ski, I guess, to go on here, this is actually a laminate jig, but this is a laminate router rather, which will work just fine. It happens to be the only router that I have an adjustable fence like this to put on, so that's the one we're using, and it's going to work just fine. I did it on my I tested it on our sample piece here, and it ran just fine. I got my depth, and it's just a little sleek piece of metal that goes inside of that. And the day I go to put these on, I will take the router with me. If I have to make a little adjustment and do open up that gap there, I can do it on site. All right, let's give this a whirl. Okay, we'll get this guy plugged in. Everything's already all set because we did a sample piece. And what we're going to do here is we're going to route across this way first on all of the pieces. Meaning, this is the only place we'll be dealing with some end grain right here. Because when we go this way, we won't be dealing with end grain. And this is the only place that I could possibly get a little blowout. Whoops, right there. Sorry, I thought I had you looking down. And so by doing this first, if it does blow out a little bit, we'll be going back the other way and we'll pick it up. So that's the thought anyway. So I put some clamps on this so I don't have to worry about that, and I can just focus on holding this in. Okay. We'll take this clamp off and put it over here. I think the key is to keep this thing fastened down so you don't have to worry about it. Now we'll go this way, and I should be able to come right through here. I don't think that's going to bother me. Right. Okay, we're good. Good to go. So the reason that I made this fence long is because it gives me some stability, so that I don't have to worry too much about when I get to the end of this. I can still hold it in and not have to worry about it. You ever think you have too many tools? I don't. I mean, that's a tool, that fence right there, I've probably used it twice. And I don't know how I would be doing this without it. So a lot of the tools are not used every day. It's just the way it is. So that's going to work out fine there. So we're going to turn this around and do the same thing. Okay, well, you get the gist of it. I'll show you it when it's all done. Here we are at another day. So after I left you yesterday, I went around and I taped off, excuse me, I taped off just above where our groove is so that I could go around and paint everything. We're just going to seal this part of it. And I didn't care about getting paint on this because this is going into the groove of the refrigerator. You'll never see it. Then I taped this off and primed that. So this stuff is all primed. And now I'm ready to go to the next step. It's dry. I think I'm going to take a little 320 to it. I'm going to just kind of clean it up a little bit, make it a little smoother. Not that you'll ever feel it anyway, but just because. So I got a little 320 here. I'm going to hit this one and the other one. I'm not going to sand the groove. The groove is done. The only thing we're doing there is taking tape off of it when it's time. This is just going to level it out a little bit. And it's also kind of breaking the edge if there was anything up there, so that when I take the tape off, I want it to be good. I don't really want to have to do anything to it. So we're not going to do a lot of sanding to this, just kind of leveling it. So we had a little Benmore paint mixed up to match our paint from Fieldstone. I took in one of my sample chips. They matched it right up. I'll tell you, it looked really good. All right, we'll let that go. I'm going to do the other one. And yeah, let's just leave it. And leave that be. I'm going to do the other one, and then we'll go from there. I think I will put a second coat down. I'm quite sure I will. 2 coats of paint on here. And now it's time to take off the tape, and let's see if this was a success or not. Well, I like what I'm seeing there. If the rest of it goes that way, I'm going to be happy. Yeah, and I'll just burnish that a little bit. It's got a little bit of a shine to it, and I think I'm going to try some 1000 grit just to see if I can dull it down. If not, I'll do some 500 just to knock that shine off of it. A success. We got the groove all painted. And that's coming right off nice. That was the one I was worried about. It was so thin, and it came off good. All right, so the next thing is to see what we can do right here. See if we can't dull that down a little bit. It was an eggshell paint that I got, so I thought that was going to do it. Oh, that's gonna be nice. Beautiful. Yep, it's dulling it down just enough. That, my friends, is a success. So I'll just duplicate what I just did right there on the bottom panel, and we'll wrap these up, and we're gonna call it a day. So, hey, thanks for stopping by. I do appreciate it. Again, if you got the old mustard left in you, and you can go give it the old up yours, that would be great. All right, we'll see you on the next video.